Okay, guys, so what we're going to do today is we're going to transition out of the 1920s, right, which were these booming great times and all this cool stuff that was happening, into good times, into, we're in trouble. This is not going well. Our economy is not going well, into the Great Depression, okay? So that's where we're going to transition into. And the Great Depression is a big deal. It's a big deal, and you need to kind of understand how we got there. So these two pages here, 154 and 157, talk about some jazz heroes and some movie stars. We spent some time, we watched a little video on Charlie Chaplin. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a few videos that you can watch about some of these people. We've got Amelia Earhart, Charles Lindbergh. We've got Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney, who fought twice for a heavyweight boxing championship. Gertrude Ederle created a sensation when at age 19 she became the first woman to swim across the English Channel. So I'm going to post some videos on some of these. Zoe, if for any reason you have trouble because you're overseas, you could have your dad just help you look up some of these people. But we're going to post some stuff about these people that you can watch. And then we're going to talk about the fact that the 1920s are drawing to a close. Americans are confident that the good times would go on, and factories churned out mountains of new products. Consumers bought houses, automobiles, appliances. There were signs the economy might be headed for trouble, such as the failure of thousands of family-owned farms, but practically no one was paying much attention. In 1928, when President Calvin Coolidge decided not to seek re-election, the Republicans nominated Herbert Hoover, who had served in a variety of government posts since World War I. Voters elected Hoover in a landslide victory over New York's governor, Democrat Al Smith. Even before his election, Hoover had expressed confidence that the prosperity would never end. We in America today, he stated, are nearer to the final triumph over poverty than ever before in the history of any land. American consumers seem to share this faith. New business developments, brand names, advertising, buying credit, everything, we're enjoying more and more. And a big thing in that time were the corner drugstores. And here's a little picture of corner drugstores and what those would have been like. A new kind of advertising and a new generation of sales people emerged during this decade, presenting America with the hard sell. Okay, this is where, you kind of go in for used cars and, you're getting the billboards and everything's coming at you, right? We also started having chain stores and brand names, which we've talked about before with some of the mail order stuff, okay? So we've got A&P grocery stores, Sears, Roebuck. Chain stores are able to offer lower prices, but of course that puts the family stores out of business. So yes, we've got these lower prices, but some of the family stores are going out of business. Most Americans felt the economic outlook was perfect, but several areas carried potential for trouble. Farm overpopulation and the loss of European markets for crops brought prices down. Germany was having trouble paying the huge war debt it owed the Allies, and the Allies, like Great Britain and France, were borrowing from American investors to pay the debts they owed the U.S. government. Lastly, surpluses were beginning to pile up. Customers had bought the products they wanted, but factories were still making more, but nobody was buying them. Okay, so a surplus is the amount of the item left over after the need for that item has been satisfied. So farms like this one in Germantown, Pennsylvania, saw the boom times of World War I disappear by the end of the 1920s. And then people started playing the stock market. The values of shares in the stock market climbed steadily upward. This encouraged some investors to take the risk of buying on margin. So much like buying on credit. So they're buying their stocks on credit. Okay, they pay part of the price and borrow the rest. The broker borrows from the bank. The investor hoped to pay off the balance by selling the stock at a profit in a few months or years when the price rose. This seemed a sure bet as long as the stock market went up in value. But countless stories started circulating about average people who made $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in only a few months. Thousands joined in playing the stock market. But even at its peak, only about 1 of every 20 Americans owned stock. The loan seemed safe to the banks, and investors were confident that the stock market would keep on rising. So this is all happening from 1920 to 1999. And then here we go, 1929 to 1939. Okay? As the nation slid rapidly into the Great Depressions, Americans lost their money and their jobs, as well as their hopes and confidence. Banks failed, factories cut wages, unemployment soared. President Hoover's calls for voluntary measures to provide jobs had little effect. In the 1932 presidential election, voters were attracted to Democrat Franklin D. Roosevelt's promise of a New Deal. In his first months in office, Roosevelt pushed emergency measures through Congress that eased suffering and put thousands to work. But the Depression persisted despite Roosevelt's efforts until 1939, when the nation neared full employment. And then it's going to be World War II. Can you believe it? After, we get these 10 years of good, 10 years of depression, and we're going to go into World War II. It's crazy. So I am going to post this video with a few other things I'd like you to watch. And then we're going to spend a little time talking about how we ended up in the Great Depression, what happened during the Great Depression.